You hear about mergers and acquisitions, and you probably think of these huge numbers, right? Massive deals, massive promises. It's this high stakes game where the idea, the expectation, looks brilliant on paper. But the reality? Well, that's a whole different story, and it's often a lot more complex. So here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with that big, exciting promise of a deal. Then we'll get into how it's valued, who the buyers are, the all-important reality check of due diligence, and finally, what happens when it's time to actually merge everything together.
Okay, first up, let's dive into that dream, the M&A value promise. What gets everyone so excited in the first place?
The whole game really starts with one single powerful idea: synergy. It's this almost magical concept that when you combine two companies, you get something that's way more valuable than just adding them up. It's the classic 1 + 1 = 3 scenario.
And this quote from Kirsan Patel really hits the nail on the head. No matter the reason for the deal, a new market, a new product, the end goal, the ultimate motive, is always about generating value. That's the promise of synergy.
Okay, so you've got this big, exciting dream. But how do you actually put a number on it? Let's look at how that dream gets quantified on paper. Well, one of the go-to tools for this is something called a discounted cash flow analysis, or DCF for short. It's basically a three-step dance. First, you predict all the money the new company is going to make in the future. Second, you pick a discount rate. That's a fancy way of accounting for risk and the simple fact that a dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow. And third, you use that rate to figure out what all that future cash is actually worth right now. So think of it this way. DCF answers the question, what is this whole thing worth today? But there's another piece to the puzzle, the internal rate of return, or IRR. That answers a different question. How profitable is this investment going to be? It gives you a percentage return. So you get two critical parts of the financial story: its current value and its potential profit.
All right, so the spreadsheet looks amazing. The numbers are adding up. But now we hit our first major dose of reality. Who is actually doing the buying? Because their motivation changes everything.
And you've basically got two main players in this game: private equity buyers and strategic buyers. And trust me, they could not be more different. A PE firm is a financial investor. They're looking for a good return, and they plan to sell in, 3 to 7 years. A strategic buyer, on the other hand, is usually another company in the same industry. They're in it for the long haul, looking for those operational synergies we talked about. Totally different end games. Okay, so the financial models are done. We know who the players are. Now comes probably the most critical part of this whole reality check. We call it due diligence. It's really time to kick the tires and look under the hood. Because this is the question everyone is asking themselves. Is this business really what it looks like on paper? This is where that beautiful on-paper dream smacks right into hard reality.
And I mean, this is a deep dive. We're talking about going through everything with a fine-tooth comb. Are the loan documents legit? Are the payment histories accurate? What about compliance? They are looking for any little red flag, any skeleton hiding in a closet that wasn't in the brochure.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most overlooked reality check. What happens after the ink is dry on the contract? This is the massive task of integration. And this is where the expectation really clashes with reality. On one hand, the whole goal is to create these amazing synergies, right? You cut costs by getting rid of duplicate HR departments, or you boost revenue by cross-selling products. But the reality is you have to spend a ton of money just to make that happen. You've got to merge people, technology, and operations, and that costs real money. And we're not talking about a small amount of money here. This is huge. Research from EY found that, on average, the cost of just integrating the two companies is about 14% of the entire deal price. To put that in perspective, on $1 billion deal, that's $140 million you have to spend right out of the gate just to get things working together. And you know what? That 14%, that's just what you can plan for. It doesn't even begin to cover all the hidden, intangible costs. Things like a sudden drop in employee morale and productivity, or customers getting confused and leaving. Those things don't always show up on a balance sheet, but they can absolutely impact the success of a deal.
So all of this, it brings us to a fundamental crossroads, right? You've got the beautiful promise on one side and the messy, expensive reality on the other.
So it leaves us with this final, really important question to think about. When a deal looks amazing on a spreadsheet, but bringing it to life is costly and chaotic, What's the real way to measure if it was actually a success?